The music is that of Calypsonian Statement for Cropover 2011. Roger Skeete had won all 7 stages before the lunch run on Pickering, Orange Hill, and here on Canefield. England's Paul Bird had been able to move from 4th place to 2nd, but not without some hairy moments. Paul Bourne saw his 2nd place position slip from his grasp after a flat on the Orange Hill stage, and he was 3rd at the lunch halt. England's Rob Swan had been 4th at one stage during the first loop, but was 5th by the lunch halt. Jamaica's Gary Gregg clawed his way from 9th to 6th place. Roger Hill started 8th, moved to 6th, then back to 7th, but his rally ended on the 5th stage when he lost his back left wheel. He had a wheel of a deal. Trinidad-based John Powell had been as high as 3rd and as low as 5th, but by lunch he was 4th. Sean Gill had rapidly moved from 39th to 10th, and by lunch he was an impressive 7th. His gearbox problem the weekend before was resolved, and Mark Hamilton was leading the Production 4 class from the onset and just outside the top 10. Andrew Malalou and Rhett DeAndre were 3rd in Production 4 and 20th overall. Jamal Brathwaite and Dario Hoyt in the Mitsubishi Mirage were 3rd in Modified 6 at lunch. England's Martin Stockdale and Gary Miller in the BMW M3 Compact were 4th in Super Modified 11. Eric Hallenby and Sean Corbin were 3rd in Super Modified 10 in the Mitsubishi Lancer. Alex Whitehead and Brian Hurley in the BMW 328i were 3rd in Super Modified 11 by lunch. England's Andrew Siddle and Wales' Carl Williamson in the Ford Escort RS 2000 Mark I were leading Historic Class 2. The Mears brothers, Roger and Barry, had been as high up the order as 6th place, but had slipped to 11th before their exit on stage 5. Neil Corbin and Zach Hieselgrave in the Toyota Starlet were leading Modified 6. Greg Kosier and Jamie Marsh moved from outside the top 70 at the start of the rally to inside the top 50 by lunch. David Brewster and Umar Dyer in the Peugeot 205 GTI moved from outside the top 80 to inside the top 65. Frans Verbus and Kees Hagman from the Netherlands kept the Austin Mini Cooper on the road and were still in the overall hunt. Cliff Rowett and James Wilkie had been challenging at the top of Super Modified 10 in the Toyota Starlet before they were forced to miss stage 5. Alan McKay in the Ford Anglia WRC, which stands for Well-Run Car, was a sure crowd pleaser with his style of driving. Paul Darazay from Austria and Jim Herman from England were off the pace of the Super Modified 11 group, but still in the overall hunt. Calvin Briggs and Adrian Sobers in the Ford Escort Mark II were also keeping the crowd well entertained. Lunch. What could Bird be possibly planning with Skeete's co-driver?
Paul Bird, we're at the lunch stop of day 1. How are things going so far?
Yeah, all right this morning. Maybe a little slow out the blocks the first 2 stages, but we're not far away. We're in the mix, so just got to step it up this afternoon.
I had a puncture on stage 5, I think it was, lost like 5 seconds. Skeete's out front. He must be about 15 seconds ahead of me at the moment.
We haven't been off the road and the car is working well, and there are no problems, so keep going the same way, hopefully.
After lunch, Roger Skeete continued his charge, and though he was second fastest on stage 8, he won the next 2 stages before backing off slightly as night fell. Paul Bird continued to maintain his advantage over Paul Bourne, but was unable to close the gap on Skeete. Paul Bourne came within 3 seconds of Bird, only to see it go back up to 5 by the end of day 1. Rob Swan held on to a slim advantage over Gary Gregg for 4th, but was out of touch with the front 3. Jamaica's Gary Gregg was starting to find his groove and close to within 0.6 seconds on Swan in the battle for 4th place. Sean Gill had been able to break into the top 10 before a rock cut the water pump belt and he limped through the 3 remaining stages with an overheating problem. John Powell spun on the penultimate stage of day 1 to drop out of 4th place and down to 6th. Neil Armstrong was lying in 2nd place in the 2-wheel drive battle, but he was an impressive 8th overall at the end of day 1. First-time competitor, England's Roger Duckworth was inside the top 10 after the end of day 1. Dean Serow was able to rejoin the rally in full force after lunch, but was outside the top 50. Darrell Clark and Russell Branker led Modified 7 at one stage before missing the final 3 stages of day 1. David Coelho and James Harris from Trinidad missed 3 stages before lunch and were out of the overall hunt. Nigel and David Rees missed 8 of the 13 stages on day 1. Harold Morley was still in the overall running with a Porsche 911. Dane Skeete and Tyler Mayhew were second in Modified 6. Terry Seeley and Ramel Coppin were way off the Production 4 pace, but were still in the overall standings with the Subaru Impreza STI. The rally took the drivers over some night stages.
Rally Barbados for you, how is it?
It's quite warm. Yeah, it's good. Really enjoying it.
It's been great, as usual. From St. Vincent, come here to see some of the action in Barbados. Unfortunately, we don't have Mr. Olivier representing us this year. Hopefully next year we'll have that.
Who do you have to win?
Skeete.
Great, a little hot back, you know, we jonesing still. Can't complain.
I can't say though, really, truly.
Rally Barbados 2011, how is it for you so far?
Hot but good.
Who do you have to win?
Skeete, right through.
I feel on the weather and thing, you know. But I did hot, I think. At work? Nah, off today, though, on vacation. Yeah, so yeah, that good. You know what I mean? Calling that thing. But yeah.
Day 2 was to have 63 competitive kilometers over 11 stages, and 2 venues were the popular Malvern and Kendall to be run 5 times each before the cars headed to Bushy Park for the Super Special. Roger Skeete was still leading at this point, but was ultra cautious through this section of the stage. The Malvern stage was made even more tricky with rain only on certain parts of it, one of which was by the popular Malvern wall at the breaking point. This wet section of Malvern was causing the drivers many problems as they came off the dry to this slippery section. Everyone seemed to be having their hands full with this popular bend. But while the 4-wheel drives got away, Ian Warren wasn't so lucky. Here comes number 2. And Mark Hamilton uses Warren's car to just stay out of the wall. Not finished yet. Brett Clark. Alex Hall and Dave Armstrong from Scotland were claimed by a tree as they didn't make it through the popular duck pond. Alan McKay from Scotland kept the crowd begging for more and also ensured that our cameraman had plenty of dust to eat. Freddie Gill and Kyle Proverbs won their group in the Toyota Corolla Run X. Clifford Cox and Scott Bentham missed 7 stages on day 1 and were out of the overall hunt. Josh Reed and Mark Jordan won Supermodified 9. Stuart McClary and Julian Goddard were second in Group B at 22nd overall. Scotland's Graham Finlayson and Barbados' Orville Bruce were the only finishers in Modified 8A. At the end of it all, England's Paul Bird and Christy Reddick lost second place and were third overall. Paul Bourne and Roger Plant managed to overcome a flat tire on the first day and recapture second place. 12 in the S12. Roger the Sheriff Skeete captured his 12th title, winning 1 Rally Barbados 2011 by an impressive 23.93 seconds. He teamed up with Louis Venezia in the S12B Subaru Impreza WRC to also make it 2 consecutive victories. The full production coming soon to a screen near you, or me, whichever one. No, seriously, Race 1's Rally Barbados 2011 production will air in a few weeks' time.
Total Sport Race 1 News Time, I'm Kirk Bishop with the details. In the news at this time, Formula 1 racing isn't just about going fast. Stopping well is also a major part of the equation. Montreal Circuit, host of the weekend's Canadian race, features 7 braking events in all, 6 of which are considered heavy, and 4 of which involve braking from over 295 kilometers per hour. It amounts to one of the toughest tracks of the year on brakes. Let's see how the skillful drivers handle this one. Some sad news now. This is our final episode for the season. 13 weeks gone just like that already. I'm hurting. I know you're hurting too. But I want to thank the Race 1 crew, Graves, Ronaldo, Corey, Smello, Ronald, and everybody involved in Race 1. Thank you so much. And last but not least, I'd like to thank our sponsors for everything they've done for us. Mark Maloney from Preconco. Thank you, Mark, for all you've done for Race 1. And you have done a lot, sir. Thank you. Also, Stuart Maloney from Centile, Roger Hill from NASCO, Errol Lynch from Asphalt Processors Inc. and that funny ad that everyone loves, Ryan Halout from Chefette Restaurants, Mrs. Tracy Lloyd from Total Sport, and of course Belleville Auto Spears. Special thanks to Barry Wilkinson from Line and Length Barbershop. Thanks a million, Barry. We appreciate it, and we hope we can get $1 million from you on our next sponsorship deal. And before I forget, we have to thank the stage chief, Jeff Bovell, and his crew for treating us like royalty out in the field, on the stages, and everywhere. Thank you so much, Jeff. And before I go, let me remind you, Total Sport, 3 locations, Top Floor, Cave Shepherd, Bridgetown, Sunset Crest on the west side, the best side, and of course, Sheraton Center. We'll catch you next season. Until then, salud!